live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody is having a great week so far. Hi Carolina, hi Vanessa, hi Aksa, hi Kartik Joshi, hi Mohammed. Good to see many of you in class. Today we are looking at an IELTS listening section, focusing on section 1 and 2. These materials come from our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS. That's academicenglishhelp.com. And for the general version, check us out at gieltshelp.com, where you can access 6 original practice tests, over 100 hours of video lessons, and a fully interactive course. Hello, Niamatullah in beautiful Malaysia. Students, download our app from your Android and iOS Play stores, app stores. Search for Academic IELTS Help. Look for our shield. Hi, Valiant Venture. Good to see you as well. All right, students. If you have questions, comments, concerns, send me an email, adrian@aehelp.com. You can buy our practice exams in paper hard copy version if you wish. If you're doing the paper-based exam, it could be a good idea. On your Amazon bookstore, search for these titles: AE Helps Academic IELTS and GE Helps General IELTS. Good to see so many members in this class as well. I know it's quite intense, that last class that we just had for members. So good to see you, Amarjeet and Jairam, and good to see you as well, Cheng Hung. All right, everyone, let's get to it. So again, right now, listening part 1 and 2. Tomorrow, members will finish that task 2 that we started today. We're going to do this test 6, listening. Okay, this is test 6 from our second exam book. And to get going on the audio, we have to just jump over to our academic website. This is aehelp.com, and we're going to go into our My Student account here. Now, students, when I play the audio, please answer on a separate piece of paper or in a separate document, not in the chat. Give everybody a equal chance or a fair chance to answer on their own. All right? And we will go over the answers at the end together. Okay? So we're going to get right into this listening. Volume is max on my side. Just going to double check that, but if you cannot hear the audio, then just use a headset. Turn up the volume on your end. Okay? Like I say, volume is absolutely maximum on my end. Okay, here we go, everyone. 3, 2, 1, get ready to listen and answer. Don't put answers into the chat.
This recording is copyrighted by 2 Think One Solutions Inc. and World ESL Tutors. You will hear several different recordings, and you will answer questions on what you hear. There will be time given to read the instructions and questions, and you will be given a chance to check your work. The recordings will be played only once. The test is made up of 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now turn to section 1. Listening section 1. You will hear a conversation between a man and a woman concerning the requirements of running for municipal office. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example. This time only, the conversation relating to this question will be played.
Good morning. You've reached the Information Office for Municipal Affairs. This is Florence speaking.
Good morning, Florence. My name is Walter, and I'd like some information on running for municipal office in the upcoming election.
You're in the right place. The first piece of information I'll need from you is the specific office you'd like to run for.
Town councillor, I'd imagine.
The man says he would like to run for town councillor, so this has been indicated for you. Now we begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning. You've reached the Information Office for Municipal Affairs. This is Florence speaking.
Good morning, Florence. My name is Walter, and I'd like some information on running for municipal office in the upcoming election.
You're in the right place. The first piece of information I'll need from you is the specific office you'd like to run for.
Town councillor, I'd imagine.
Great. I need some information from you in order to get you on the ballot this September. Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I'm ready.
This should only take a few minutes. OK then, let's start with your surname, Walter.
Colchester. Colchester.
And Walter is spelt in the regular fashion?
Yes, Walter.
OK, next I need your date of birth.
I was born the 11th of December, 1979.
The 11th of December 1979 makes you 36 years old at the time of the September elections. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. I'll need your national insurance number.
My national insurance number is WC 285-698-33.
WC 285-698-33.
That's right.
Great. And the last pieces of information I need from you are your current address and phone number.
I live at 23 Shaftesbury Lane, Plymouth, and you can reach me on 01752 667 835.
Wonderful. Next, I'll give you some information on running for municipal office.
You now have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen to the rest of the interview and answer questions 6 to 10.
First of all, you should know that you're one of 15 candidates so far that have registered for the 4 town councillor positions. Since the deadline for registration is in a week, I do not anticipate this number increasing by more than a candidate or 2. Second, please know that there are 3 all-candidate debates, of which you must attend 2 in order to qualify for office.
I have to participate in debates.
Yes, that's right. They are on the 14th and 28th of August, and the final one is held on the 4th of September. They'll be held at the local community hall on Ashford Street. Each one begins at 6 o'clock in the evening.
That sounds fine. Is there anything else I need to know?
Yes, there is. Do you plan on spending money on your campaign? This could be on adverts in newspapers, promotional signage, or other advertising.
Well, I was planning on taking an ad out in the local paper, yes.
Not a problem, but please keep in mind that there is a strict £2,000 limit on campaign spending for town councillors. All expenses must be reported to this office. Overspending will result in disqualification.
I don't think that should be a problem.
Oh, and one more thing, Mr. Colchester. There is a £50 registration fee for each candidate for town councillor. You may pay this fee over the phone by credit card, with a cheque in the post, or in person with cash, credit or debit. How would you like to pay?
I live right by the office, so I'll drop by this afternoon to pay in person.
My assistant will take care of that for you. I think that is all I need from my end. Do you have any questions?
I don't think so. Thanks for your help.
You're welcome, and good luck.
That is the end of section 1. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
And in that half minute, always check your answers, students. It's very, very important. I'm just going to stop the audio on the website and my student account. Hop back to the test booklet. Of course, on our websites, you actually have this test in an interactive format as well. Here we go. So this is a very typical listening section 1 with quite a bit of dictation with names, phone numbers, social insurance numbers, times, days. So very, very common type of listening section 1. Before we get to the answers, I did something interesting during the instruction time. What did I do in the instruction time? So in the instruction time of the audio, you may be able to take a look at the section 2, 3, and 4 topics in the paper-based exam. Okay, there is no hard rule that you are not allowed to do this. But the proctor may ask you not to turn the pages. Okay? If you can take a peek, this can help you with your scores as you prime your brain for the upcoming information. Okay, and the example here is, okay. Yeah, so McConan says, take a look at the other questions, and you're right. So again, there's no hard rule. About 50% of the time, students are like, yeah, I did it. It helped me in my exam. It helped me to visualize. A proctor is an invigilator, Valiant Venture. Another way to say it is invigilator. It's a supervisor, okay? Never written this word. I'll try it though. So a proctor is somebody that's supervising the exam. They're also called invigilators, like that. Okay, so different ways to call those people. Yeah, Samir's like invigilator with an I because they're invigilant. Very good. So the example here is while we listened to this part 1, and while we were listening to the instructions, what were the topics of part 2? So what was the topic for part 2? What was part 2 about? So part 2, anybody catch what that would be about? How about part 3? Or how about part 4? Anybody remember what these upcoming sections may be about? Okay. What was part 2 about? Anybody catch that? It's actually quite tricky, so I stopped there for a second on part 2 because it looked quite challenging. So I was like, yeah, maybe I'll stop here for a second. Okay. Sheng Hung, not the second half of part 1, but actually part 2 of the speaking, so the next section, okay? So part 2 of the speaking, it will be some kind of a business meeting. Okay, part 3, it seemed like it was some kind of a book release or book information. And part 3 or part 4 looked like it was something about roads. Okay, so that's what I got by taking a peek at those sections. So section 2, something about business meetings. Section 3, something about book information. Section 4, something about the history of roads. That's what it seemed like. Okay, let's answer the questions. So here is a man on the phone wanting information to apply for town councillor. It's a political position, and the administrator gathers some information for this application. So this is the town councillor application form. I know that's a bit bright for you, so it might be difficult to see. Number 1, it was Walter, and the correct answer is Colchester. It's very important that the C is capital. So Colchester, that is correct. They spell it twice, okay? But there's no guarantee that they will. So what you should do when you're hearing dictation in part 1 and part 2 is, and this is a tip, okay, this is an important tip. When you hear names or addresses, numbers being dictated in part 1 or section 1, section 2, write it down as soon as you hear it, because they may not repeat it. However, often for section 1 and 2, not so much for section 3 and 4, they do repeat it. So be ready to add or make corrections. Okay, so what I mean by that is when you hear the person saying, my name is Walter Colchester, even when you hear him say Colchester, just do your best to quickly write down Colchester, okay, as best as you can, as quickly as you can. And then when you hear the person say, can you spell that? Then be ready to go, okay, C-O-L-C-H, okay, that's an E, that's an S, okay, T-E-R. All right, Colchester. So check your work, okay? Write it down, then check your work. Same thing with numbers. Sometimes I see that students just wait for them to spell. So the person will say, my name is Walter Colchester, and the student is not writing anything, and then they're waiting for the C-O-L, and then suddenly it doesn't come. They're just like, oh, what? I thought you were going to spell that, but nobody's spelling. So get it down as soon as you hear it, and then as you hear the spelling, check it and work through it again, okay? All right, so next question. Notice here, because it was a form, the answers didn't come in perfect order. In your exam, this is rare, but I have seen this on past IELTS papers where you have a form like this, and the form has question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They give you this answer, Colchester, and then suddenly they give you this answer or this answer. So when you look at the form, remember that this is kind of one group of questions, okay? It's more common that the answers are coming in order, but in some rare cases, they can move around a bit, especially if the form is in section 3 or 4. So that means in your review time, when they say you have time to review questions 1 to 5, you have to pay attention to these points here too. Okay? All right, so number 2, the address. Where does Mr. Colchester live? Something Shaftesbury Lane. It's just a number that's missing here. And McConan, our member, says number 2 is 23. He lives at 23 Shaftesbury Lane. And you are correct. It's 23 Shaftesbury Lane. Very good. Inaya Alves, good to see a new member answering. Inaya, yes, 23 is correct. Okay, he lives in Plymouth. And what is his date of birth? Date of birth, what is it? Okay, what's the date of birth? 11th December 1979. Okay, that's very good. So 11 December 1979. Good. Okay. Now, you can do it like this. 11 December 1979. That's okay as well. They'll take that. Okay. As long as it's correct. There's a little bit of a difference when we do it British versus American. Sometimes in American English, we'll do 12th or December 11th, 1979. And then in British English, we'll do 11th of December, 1979. But that doesn't matter, okay? They won't care about that as long as you get these numbers correct. So the safest way is the month, use it like that, DEC, okay? You can put a dot, but it's not absolutely important. Okay, so one more time. 11 December 1979. Now, what is very important is that this D is big. If you write a small d, they will mark it wrong. Okay, because all months in English have a capital letter D. Okay. All right, phone number. Again, dictation, catch it on the first round. What was Mr. Colchester's phone number? Now, of course, YouTube's going to hide most of your answers here because it's worried that you're disclosing private information, but that's okay. I'll enable them. So Amin Isayev says it's 0175. Just a second. A lot more answers. So Amin says it's 0175-266-7835. Okay. Seems like many people agree with that answer, and just clicking through some of those answers now so that they can come up. Okay. All right. Yeah, so the answer is 01752. 01752. The spacing where you leave the spaces doesn't matter. 667. And drum roll for the final three numbers. 835 is correct. Okay, 835. Make sure to practice writing down numbers so that you don't make a mistake here, because these are easy marks. These are easy points. Okay. So quick numbers: 01752 667 835. Sometimes what you will hear is 01752 7835. You can hear that as well. Okay, so careful. National insurance number. What is the number of Mr. Colchester? What is his national insurance number? In Canada, we call this the social insurance number. In some places, the social security number. Different names for it. It's WC 285. WC 285 69833, and Harminder, McConan, Aksa. Looks like all of you got it correct. 285 69833. Very good. Okay. So again, a couple of easy points if you're paying attention to number dictation. All right, but again, notice that it didn't come perfectly in the order of the question. So sometimes they play with you a little bit, especially when it seems like the answers are maybe a little bit simpler than usual. All right, then you had a little bit of a break. When you have that 20 seconds to review your answers, forget about these. So you already answered. Don't worry about them, because you will have time to worry and think about them more during the 10 minutes to transfer answers to the answer sheet. So don't worry about them during the time they give you to look at the next questions. During that time, make sure to look at those next questions. Okay, so again, another quick tip here. It's just because I see students not doing this. So tip, after you answer a part of a listening section and you get about 20 seconds to review the second half of those questions of that section, make sure to review and not waste time staring at the questions you just answered. Okay. Remember, you will have 10 minutes after section 10 or section 4 to transfer your answers to an answer sheet, during which time you can review in detail. Okay? Keep that in mind, students. All right, let's go back here. Let's go through questions 6 to 10. So here you had a very short little table completion. It said write no more than 2 words. Always pay attention to the instructions, as so many students lose marks because they don't pay attention to 1 word or 2 word. Okay, so the second debate, when does it take place? Amin Nizaev says it's the 27th of August for the second debate. Any other answers? Danielle Alexandru says it's the 28th of August. Ashwin says it's the 4th of September. I think Ashwin, that's the third debate. Yeah, so Inaya says it's 2808. Here you can't do that, Inaya. So you said 2808. I would be careful, Inaya. They might give you that. They might not. Just because this could refer to a year as well. We don't have the year here. So it's better to just be on the safe side and actually write the abbreviation for the month. So I would just do it like this. AUG dot. You don't need it, but putting the dot is good practice. Okay, so I recommend putting the dot. It's good practice. You don't have to have it. And then I would go AUG 28. Okay, so that's the correct answer. AUG 28. And at what time? What time in the day is this debate? It's August 28th. And Amin says it's at 6 p.m. And that's correct. And the best way to write PM is P.M. Okay? So 6 p.m. All right. Good. So this is the clearest way. This is the sure way to pick up these points. Okay? AUG.28, 6, P.M. That's how I would write these to ensure that I'm getting those marks. All right. Now, even if you don't put it in here, so you just go 6 p.m., again, during the 10 minutes, when you can transfer your answers to the answer sheet, you might say, oh, yeah, okay, I have a bit of time. Might as well put those dots in to make it look clear. Okay. All right. So we have a few more questions remaining. Right, no more than 2 words for each answer. What is the campaign spending limit? Okay, Amin says it's 2,000. Yeah, and even when it says 2 words, you can do a number. It's pounds. Okay, so you don't need the symbol because you have it here. So please don't write the symbol when you already have it in the answer. So all you need here is just 2,000. Just like that. And I can see that a lot of the members, and Mohammed Kasiri and Preeti Rana and others got that as well. So good, Sue 41210. How much is the registration fee? So question number 9. How much does it cost to register? Yeah, I mean, very good. Juan Pablo, very good. Just 50. Again, the pound sign is here. So when the pound sign is included, you don't need to worry about it. So 50 is right. Don't worry about the pound signs. Just put those numbers in there. Okay. All right. Last question. It's question number 10. You have to get all three of these correct because it's just one question. Choose three letters, A, B, C, D, E, or F. What are the three ways of paying the registration fee mentioned in the recording? Direct debit. I did not hear that word debit. Check by post. It sounds like it's possible. Credit in person. Sure. I mean, you can usually pay by credit card. Lyrics Miracle says it's DEC. Harminder says it's ECA. McConan says it's BCE. The correct answer is B, C, and E. Okay? That makes sense. So, direct debit, I didn't hear debit. Check by post, that usually makes sense in many countries, that you can put a check into the post if you have the system of paying by checks in your country. Credit in person. What did they actually say about that? They said you can pay credit, cash, or check in person. So here you only see credit in person, but she said all three. She said cash, credit, or check in person. Now you don't have those other two options here, so we know that C is possible. Cash by post. I never recommend doing that ever. Okay, putting money into an envelope and putting it into a post office or into a post box is a pretty bad idea. So cash by post, I do not think a business or a government office would ever recommend that. So that's just silly. Okay. Credit over the phone, sure. If you can pay credit in person, why not credit over the phone? Check over the phone, that's not possible. Okay, so BCE logic helps as well. Okay. Jatin is asking, give us some tips about computer-generated IELTS exam. Jatin, most of what I'm explaining here, for example, using logic when you're assessing these multiple choice questions, that will work on the computer-based exam also. So most of what I'm telling you, it's the same. So computer-based versus paper-based, not too many big differences, especially since many of us are more comfortable with computers these days. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. Now we will continue with part 2. What did you get for this section 1? So what did you get? How many did you get correct? Let me know, students. Out of 10. So what was your score out of 10 here on this? Okay. Joanne Justy says 7 out of 10. Amin says 9. Lyric says 8. Ashwin says 9. McConan says, I got all of them, 10. Nicely done. Okay. Just so you know, students, when you're aiming to get a band 7 on the IELTS exam, for section 1, your goal should always be at least 8, never less. Okay. So if your target band score on IELTS is 7 for the listening section, then for part 1, you should aim to get at least 8 correct from 10. That's because the next sections will become more and more difficult. So if you're losing a lot of marks right away in section 1, it's going to be very difficult to get that band 7. So for those of you who are getting under 8 MRG, you got to really put in that extra effort to be able to score a band 7, okay. Danielle, I believe that 26 out of 40 is going to be a band 6.5, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll get to that tomorrow in tomorrow's class. Okay, students, so far so good. Let's go to section 2. So here we go with section 2. Same idea. I'm going to play the audio. Please do not write your answers in the chat. Give everybody a fair chance, okay? Your fellow students want to do this on their own, and you might be giving the wrong answer, so you don't want to mislead them, okay? Because that wouldn't happen in the real exam. So, again, I'm hopping back to our academic IELTS web portal, where these exams are coming from. And in just a moment, you're going to listen. If it's quiet, please turn up the volume. Try to use a headset. Here we go with listening section 2.
Now turn to section 2. Take some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Listening section 2. You will hear a recording of 3 people discussing strategy for an upcoming meeting with investors. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. Now listen carefully to the interview and answer questions 11 to 16.
Thank you both for coming in for this preparatory meeting. As you know, we have an extremely important meeting with our investors next week. While I'm more than confident in the work we have done over the past year, we must be prepared to justify our progress to our investors. After all, they are the ones who pay our salaries. First, I want to review the positive outcomes we've achieved over the past year. This will make up the bulk of our presentation. Amy, would you like to give us a rundown on this front?
Sure. We've achieved many positive outcomes over the past year, and furthermore, we've achieved more in the past 4 months than in the previous 8 months. So we're certainly showing significant progress. First, and most important, sales of our app are up 50% from last year, totaling 586,000 units in the past 12 months, up from 390,000 units in the previous year. This is great progress. Second, we're achieving a higher purchase rate. While our sales are up 50%, the number of total downloads has remained relatively constant. This means our conversion rate has increased 50% as well. This clearly demonstrates that our efforts in this area have been fruitful. By targeting the conversion rate instead of the raw download rate, we have raised our standing and search result priority within the application stores. This will eventually lead to a higher download rate and even more sales. The upward trajectory here is very clear. We have also decreased the complaint rate from 2.5% to 1.5%. While our goal is to get this rate as close to 0 as possible, this decrease represents a positive outcome and shows that our efforts to increase customer satisfaction have been successful.
Yes, but if I may interrupt, I actually have to disagree on one point. I don't believe it should be a goal to get the complaints rate down to 0. While we certainly don't want a high complaint rate, the resources spent on getting the complaint rate down are better spent on increasing downloads and increasing the conversion rate. I think this is an important point to be made to the investors. While we certainly value the quality of our product, we are much more focused on maximising the value of the investor's investment. I think such a tack will go over well with the investors.
You now have some time to look at questions 17 to 20. Now listen to the rest of the interview and answer questions 17 to 20.
That's a great point. We really want to emphasize that we are doing everything we can to optimize and maximize the money and resources we've been supplied with. Speaking of which, are we all agreed that we will be asking for 20% increase in operating budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. And how are you going to justify such an increase?
Well, certainly by pointing to the statistical outcomes you previously referenced, but also by our need to expand. We need to increase our catalogue of apps, and to do this, we will need to hire at least 2 additional developers. In addition to this, I think we are now at the point in our business where hiring a market analyst would be justified. Such a person could be charged with finding niches to exploit within the market. Right now, our operations in this regard are rudimentary at best, and an expert in the field could help increase our sales volume significantly. Such an expert's salary might take up 5% of our operating budget, but could lead to a 10% increase in sales or more. The 5% difference would result in a net income increase of almost £100,000.
I agree. Hiring a market analyst is long overdue. One more justification for a budget increase is an across-the-board pay rise, if only at the rate of inflation. 2%, say. This would go a long way to increasing worker morale and output quality. In addition to this,
That is the end of section 2. You will now have half a minute to check your answers.
And again, students, check those answers for spelling mistakes or mistakes with the instructions. All right, again, I'm just going to hop back, stop the audio on our website here, and then we will do the answers together. So I think many of you probably realize that, yeah, this is more challenging than section 1. So section 1 is kind of easy peasy compared to section 2. There can be a big jump in the difficulty between section 1 and section 2. So be ready for it. Don't be shocked. Okay. All right. So this is a business meeting among some company workers dealing with investors. Here we go. Number 11. Who pays the salaries of the workers in the recording? So who pays, though, the salaries? Carolina says, Asanio says, the investors pay the salaries of the workers. Of course, that's who it is. It's the investors. So very good. Investors. Okay, absolutely. The investors. Conan, Yamatula, very good. All right, good. Jancy, Jose, or Jose, very good. Okay, the investors pay. And then we had this table to complete. This was a discussion comparing the performance of the company for the current year versus the previous year. And the first one was about sales. So when you're talking about sales, we're talking about percentages. We're also talking about numbers. Anybody catch the number of sales that they had in the current year? So how many? What were their sales figures? How much did they sell? Samir was not 50,000. Mohammed Kasiri, 390,000 was last year. So they're up 50% from the 390,000. Sue 4121 says 536. The correct number would have been 586,000. Okay. So it was 586,000. Now again, students, when you're practicing at home and you're like, "Oh, I didn't catch that. Where did they say that, or when did they say that? When did they say it?" It's a good question if you don't catch it. If you have a question like that, check it out. The books, good IELTS books, have transcripts. Transcripts are in the back of the book. This one I think is on page 181. Or just a second, that's the answer key, so it's 159. Here we go. So these are the transcripts. It's basically the script for the book, okay? Of course, it starts with section 1. And then we go to section 2. And here we go. So check the audio. Listen again. Check the audio. You can actually see 586, 586. There it is. And read it. Read the sentence. Read what they say out loud, and then listen again. So first and most important, sales. There's the word. Boom. You're listening for it. Sales of our app are up 50% from last year, totaling 586,000 units in the past 12 months. That's this year, right? The past 12 months of this year, 586,000 units, up from 390,000 units in the previous year. Now, my tip, okay, Nima Atula, yes, you can write 586K. Very good question. So you save time. Now, if I'm listening to this and I hear this number, 586K, because Nima Atula asked a very good question. Can I just write K instead of 000? Yes, you can. Okay. The capital K is 1,000, so they will take that. Okay. So if I hear that, I'll write it down, and then I hear 390,000. Okay. And then you hear from the previous year. So I know, okay, previous year, it's not that one, it's this one. That one's going to be this year, especially because it's up 50%. So that looks like the right number. So then I learned this key tip that I may be able to save a mark if I write down both numbers and figure out which one is the right number. Okay? So keep that in mind as you practice at home and when you sit your exam. Okay? So yes, you can write this as 586K. Okay, good. All right, so downloads, current year, not given. Previous year, constant. Conversion, purchase rates, not given. Change from previous year, the conversion rate. It's up something percent. Now again, they give you the percent sign, so you do not need to write that again, or percent. So Sue 41, 210. Don't write percent, just write 50. Okay? If you write percent, you might get it wrong. So just like Ashwin or Emin or Daniel, just 50. Sheng Hung, no percent. Jancy Jose, no percent. Okay? Just the number, 50. Yeah. It's the only other time they said 50%. Mikonan, if you missed it, check it in the transcripts. Why did I miss it? Complaint rate. It's 1.5% is the current year. What's the change from the previous year with the complaint rate? Shanghung says 2.5. Amin says 1. Sue says 2.5. Daniel says 2.5. The correct answer, Amin is going to be happy to hear it, is 1. Okay. Pay attention to the parts of the question. IELTS is a thinking exam. It's a thinking exam. Many of you heard 2.5% for the last year, the previous year, but the difference between 1.5 and 2.5 is 1. So it's down 1%. From 2.5%, it's down to 1.5%. So the change is 1%. It's the difference. A little bit of math, a little bit tricky, fishing for those Band 8, Band 9 thinkers and examinees. So careful with that. Okay? All right. Pay attention to parts of. Okay? If you don't have this, then it would be 2.5. But because you have the word down, it's down 1%. Okay? If they had the word down from, then 2.5 would be correct. But it's not there. It's just down 1%. Okay? Tricky. A little bit tricky. All right. Some multiple choice. Focus on the answers. What point do the two investors disagree on? You hear one of them say right away, I disagree with you on that. And then he says the answer right away. Okay? says the answer right away. So what point do they disagree on? A, B, or C? Ways to increase conversion rates, how to convince investors to increase funding, getting the complaint rate down. They don't really talk about this yet, so we know it's not possible. There's very little about this. They're focusing on C. Good for you. Many of you realize that they aren't worried about getting the complaint rate down so much. It's not the biggest goal here. Okay, so they don't agree on that. The first one says, oh, we should try to get the complaint rates as low as possible. The other one says, it's not so important. It's not so important. What is important? So what is of primary importance according to the employees? And they agree on this one. And again, if you missed it, look at the transcripts. Maximizing the value of the investor's investment, increasing the funding of their company, to hiring new employees, convincing the company to increase downloads and raise the conversion rate. Which one? For the last question, question 16 here that we see on the board. Yeah, it's A. And again, it makes sense, right? When you are working for a company, of course, your goal. So the IELTS makes sense. They give logical questions and answers. If you're working in a company, in a perfect world, you're really focusing to make sure that you can maximize the value of your investors' investments or your clients' investments, because that is what pays for the jobs and for the company to survive and grow and profit and prosper. So that should always be the most important. Okay? If the investor's investment isn't making money, the company will go bankrupt. That's the end of that story. All right, last one was a summary completion with some words. The employees are requesting a 20% something in funding from the investors. What is that? Amin says it's a 20% increase in funding. McConan says increasing. McConan, careful with the word form. It's an increase, not increasing. It's an increase in funding. 20% increase. Okay. It's the noun, right? 20% adjective, increase noun in funding from the investors. Requesting is the verb. So careful, McConan. Okay. 20% increase in funding from the investors. This will allow the company to hire 2 additional what? And this is clearly a software company, so you can almost guess who they're trying to hire. Ashwin says developers. Aksa and Amin agree that they're trying to hire developers. Yeah, it's a tech company, so it's no surprise that they're looking to hire more developers. Okay. Who will allow the company to broaden their catalog of apps. Makes sense. You need developers to build more apps. Okay, good. They would also like to hire something. Okay. So what else? Okay. Who else are they trying to hire? Very good. Carolina, Daniel, Ashwin, excellent answers. Market analyst. And it's just one. It's a. So it's market analyst. Very good. 2-word answer. Kind of a tricky one. I'm glad to see so many of you got it. Market analyst. Who would be in charge of finding new areas of development? Good. Finally, the team wants a pay raise pegged to the rate of something. Last question here, number 20. How much of a pay raise do these people want? Pegged to the rate of inflation. Very good, Daniel. Daniel says it's pegged to the rate of inflation. Of course, we don't want to be getting less money. Than the devaluation of money. So it's the rate of inflation, the devaluation of money, right, is the rate of inflation. She says about 2%, but the more accurate answer is inflation. Okay, rate of inflation. Good. How many did you get correct for this second section out of 10? So what did you get correct for this second section? Okay, for section 2, your goal should be 7 or more. Okay, so section 1, 8 or more, section 2, 7 or more. Okay, that's kind of how you have to think about it. So if you got 8, Amin, it's good. You got over that 7. All right. Danielle, 7. Ashwin, good. Shanghung, you got to work on it. Nima Tula, 9 is fantastic. Mohammed Kasiri, 10 out of 10 is a wonderful score for section 2. Okay. All right, students, keep these papers, keep your scores, because tomorrow we will finish this listening with section 3 and section 4. Of course, as I just showed you, these materials, along with 6 practice exams, a fully interactive course, and over 100 hours of video lessons come from our websites. We are British Council IELTS Registration Center partners. We help thousands of students pass the exam daily. Join the world-leading online course to improve band scores. Click that red button for academic. And for the general version of the exam, it's the green background. Click that big red button to join us there. So again, those websites are aehelp.com for academic and gieltshelp.com for general. That's it for me for today. I will be back tomorrow finishing task 2 essay with our members earlier on in the day, and then coming back to do section 3 and section 4 of this listening test with all of you, hopefully joining me. And until then, I wish you good studies, good rest, and a great mood. Bye for now, everyone.